though, it's 9 months since you woke up to this terrible news.
A major incident is declared as a huge fire engulfs a tower block in West London.
Firefighters are tackling the blaze at Grenfell Tower near Nottingham. Local reports say that residents are still trapped in the building.
It broke out around midnight. More than 200 firefighters are at the scene, along with 40 fire engines.
Never forget the scenes that I was watching on the television that morning, the horror really, switching the radio on that morning as well and hearing more about what had gone on, what was going on at that time, and having to cover that through the morning. 71 people died in that fire at Grenfell Tower in London, and the repercussions have rumbled on nationwide ever since, after it became clear that combustible cladding had accelerated the fire. Tests were then carried out, weren't they, up and down the country on high-rise blocks. And here in Nottingham, some cladding ended up being removed from buildings like the block of student flats at Nottingham Trent University. The conversation then turned to sprinklers. Should sprinklers be fitted in these kinds of tower blocks? And if they weren't built with them, should they be what they call retrofitted? Stick them in afterwards. Nottingham City Homes has 14 blocks of flats, so it was looking at this issue particularly. And there was another question here about who should actually pay for all of this. This is what the Chief Executive of Nottingham City Homes, Nick Murphy, told the BBC at the time.
One of the things we've done is to write to all of our tenants in tower blocks to explain that the type of cladding that they have on their property isn't the same as Grenfell, and to say that we were going to be installing sprinklers in the communal areas. It's interesting, and already I've had people coming back to me saying, yeah, OK, but we're not sure about having it in our flats.
Well, what BBC Radio Nottingham can tell you this morning is that a programme to install sprinkler systems in all of Nottingham City Homes blocks will start in May and will take around 2 years to complete. The City Council will spend £8.5 million on this work, but is still trying to get the government to cover that cost.
Well, later this morning, councils from across the country will meet in Newcastle to discuss fire safety in the wake of Grenfell. But there's a Nottingham inventor who's keen to have their ears. He's come up with something quite clever. This is Clive Atkinson from Strelly-based Blueproof, and he's developed a device he thinks could be part of the solution. And he's brought it in, and you sort of screw this thing together. It's a rather small, nifty, metal little device, and he can explain to you how it works. Morning, Clive.
Good morning.
But this is just fitted in your pocket. So what's screwed onto this here? What is it?
The socket's screwed onto a self-tapping valve. The self-tapping valve will connect onto any main water pipe, 50mm, and then our Blueproof device fits into this socket and brings protection as close to the heat source as possible.
So if there was a fire, the plastic little end that you're screwing in there, that would melt, would it?
Yes, it would.
And then what would happen?
Well, the water would obviously come out of the device, and then the water would mix with the products of combustion, would expand and cool down the combustion gases. That would have reduced the effect of the gases going out of Grenfell Tower, and the likelihood of secondary combustion taking place, which was the problem in the cladding, would not have happened.
Okay, so where could you fit this little device? Where could you put it?
This device can fit on any pipe, really, and into heating radiators. That was the initial idea.
So you could have it fitted to a radiator? You could have it fitted to a dishwasher, the pipe into your dishwasher?
Yes, dishwasher, washing machine. And there's a client in Manchester who's fitted an extended mains water loop behind a fridge freezer to put the device at high level behind the fridge freezer.
So it'd be like a sprinkler, really. The effect would be like a sprinkler, but it would be a lot easier and simpler to install.
Well, it's a lot cheaper than a sprinkler. Sprinklers have their own... they're a very good device.
They're very effective, aren't they?
Very effective, very good device, but a little bit expensive and maintenance intense. There's no maintenance required on these. Once they're installed, that's it. You leave them alone. And if you get a fire, then these will assist and help.
But would they put it out? I mean, there's not that much water in a radiator, is there?
There's not much water in a radiator, but what you have to bear in mind is that for every litre of water that comes out of a radiator, it flashes off to 1,760 litres of steam. So 6 litres of water will give you approximately 10 cubic metres of steam. Now, the fire itself has to maintain that steam, otherwise it condenses out, everything cools down. The amount of heat required to keep that as steam is over 2 kilowatts per litre. So it's a lot of water. It's like leaving leaving a pan boiling on the stove and forgetting to open the window.
What would concern me, though, perhaps, is if there was a fault in that, you could have boiling hot water
Well,
spurting out.
Not for very long. You can get faults with every system. If this fails, the likelihood is that it's only failed because of heat and not because of fault. We've installed many of these and we haven't had any faults.
Where have you put them in?
Nottingham City Homes actually started to install these before the Grenfell Tower. They were proactive in their approach towards health and safety, and they've installed a few thousand of them. Scotland seemed to be very proactive with them as well, far more than in England. People seem to be waiting for the outcome of this Grenfell Tower forensic report that's going to come out from the government before they commit themselves to one thing or another. This is a very low cost solution and will buy you time.
So people could just have this for their own house. It wouldn't necessarily need
You
to
can
go
buy
tower
it.
block.
Yes, it's very easy to install. I mean, a radiator plug comes out and that goes in, and it's
Okay.
as simple as that.
Well, clever stuff. Thank you. Clive Atkinson is from Australia, and he's developed this little device. Thanks for coming in to tell us about it.
Okay.